Good evening. CTA Board of Directors, Mrs. Patton, Mr. Quisenberry, Mr. George, administration and faculty, graduates of the class of 2020, family and friends, welcome to the 22nd annual commencement for Creative Technologies Academy. My name is Autumn Matson, and I am the elementary principal. And I would like to begin by introducing the members of our Board of Directors who are present this evening. Board members, please stand as I introduce you. Mrs. Cynthia Patton, Mr. R.J. Faustin, Mr. Terry Treeman, Miss Gina Jarash. Please give them a round of applause for all that they do. This evening is an opportunity for us to honor the class of 2020. I'm so excited that we're actually here in the stadium and we are about to celebrate a milestone in your life. Can we please give our graduates a round of applause? This evening also presents an opportunity to pay tribute to our parents and our families of our graduates. Your support over the last 18 years has provided encouragement, guidance, discipline, and character development. We are grateful for your support, and I know that the graduates are grateful too. Please join me in a round of applause to honor all of our families that are here tonight. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Jennifer Collin, our secondary principal, to the podium, who will present our legacy certificates.
Good evening. Sorry if I'm squinting. Sun's right in our face. Tonight we graduate 4 students who have attended CTA for their entire elementary and secondary schooling. So that's kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. We are pleased to honor these students with special certificates. Gabriella Failing, come on up. Luke Hubbard. Ashley Shelegowski. And also Hunter Stevens, who could not be with us tonight. We're going to move on to our scholarship awards next. CTA awards scholarships annually to seniors who are continuing their education at a college, university, or trade school and who have excelled in fulfilling the mission of the Academy. The first scholarship goes to a senior who has excelled in character. Gabriella Fallon, come back up. And the next scholarship goes to a senior who has excelled in scholarship and academic achievement. And that is awarded to Hannah Hofstra. Please welcome Superintendent Dan George, who will present the scholarships for leadership and athletics.
The next scholarship goes to a senior who has excelled in leadership, awarded to Faith Watson. And our final scholarships goes go to seniors who have excelled in athletics. And we have 3 of them. Hannah Hofstra, Luke Hubbard, and Faith Watson. Please welcome Principal Jennifer Collin again, who will present medals to our Valedictorian and Salutatorian.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you our Salutatorian and Valedictorian for 2020. Both of these seniors have excelled academically throughout their high school years. I am pleased to present medals for these achievements. Our Salutatorian is Ashley Shilagowski. And our Valedictorian is Hannah Hofstra. Please welcome Ashley Shilagowski, Salutatorian.
Hello. Wrote a little speech for you. Mrs. Patton, CTA Board of Directors, Mr. Quisenberry, Mr. George, Administration and Faculty, graduates, Class of 2020, family and friends. I welcome you here tonight, and I thank you for coming together to celebrate CTA's Class of 2020. You should also be celebrated, as we have made it through truly trying times together as a people. I would like to thank administration and our amazingly admirable teachers for having the backbone that they do. It's what got us it's what got our school through a sudden shutdown and an insane learning curve. Frankly, it's what got us through every year of schooling. Even if this ceremony is supposed to be about us, we wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for them. They don't get the recognition they deserve. So to all of you, each of you are incredible, and I thank you sincerely for everything you've done and continue to do for our school and the community. I began to write this speech on April 6th, and I sat there trying to find inspiration as COVID-19 waged its war. I felt subconsciously distracted. It was like pulling teeth to get this speech out of my brain. Celebration almost feels wrong with everything happening. When Surgeon General Jerome Adams said that the week of April 6th was to be similar to Pearl Harbor and 9/11, it was like I couldn't breathe. That probably may have been because I was wearing a mask, I don't know. Even if we couldn't have our final prom, our last day of school, and the like, we still remain united. Even with everything going on, and suddenly not going on, one thing has stayed consistent. We are all blessed to have an education. So if my speech tonight doesn't register in your brain, let this be the one and only thing you remember. Keep learning. We have obviously seen that nothing stays the same besides change. In Miss Rose's room, I had a countdown on one of her boards showing the final school days for the senior class. When I first put it up there, everyone groaned about having 112 days left. So from then on, I didn't count weekends or spring break. A lower number seemed more exciting. Then it went from the mid-40s to 0. I never got to update it. Things will change on you, whether you're ready or not. The best thing to do is arm yourself with knowledge. But don't be afraid of the unknown or uncertain. Instead, let it encourage you. Allow yourself to be curious. It is windy today. When I say keep learning, I don't mean brainstorming about the space-time continuum. The worst thing you can do is sit in your bubble with the limited knowledge you already have, thinking that you're okay for the rest of your life. We live in the age of information. There is no excuse to be ignorant. Get out there and explore, even if your exploration is a Google search, a TED Talk, or a podcast. We all start somewhere, and it is never too late to change your perspectives. Learn to love this world around us. Go on and spread that love. Learn to love yourself and your enemies. Learn to share your talents and express your needs. Learn to help people. Learn to admit when you're wrong and how to apologize. Learn what it is to be utterly selfless and courageous and never settle for anything less. So again, to my class, I encourage you all to keep learning. It's not about what we do with our lives, but how we set our sails in the wind of change. If you can't even decide what to have for lunch tomorrow, let alone decide what to do with the rest of your life after graduation, learn to be okay with that. You're not supposed to know everything right now or ever. I wish you all the best, and I am very fortunate to have had the years of learning together that we did. As you leave here tonight, you have the ability to make a million things happen. Please let them be good. Thank you.
Please welcome Hannah Hofstra, Valedictorian.
Mrs. Patton, CTA Board of Directors, Mr. Quisenberry, Mr. George, Administration and Faculty, graduates, Class of 2020, family and friends. This past school year was a crazy one for all of us, with twists and turns in places we didn't expect, and an ending that seemed extremely sudden. My last day of high school happened without me knowing it was my last. I don't even remember my last day of school, and it was only a few months ago. The class of 2020 will remember their senior year differently than everyone else, but I can assure you that we are all very grateful. Senior year was memorable, and not just because of COVID-19. I had made a lot of memories throughout the years with these people. We all get along very well and are extremely comfortable with each other. We are independent, caring, and driven. We are also funny, loud, and obnoxious, and I apologize to all the teachers that had to deal with us. When most people think back to high school, the first thing they think of is the friendships they made, the sports they played, and the experiences they had throughout those 4 years. They don't always think of their time spent in class or doing homework. In fact, it's probably the last thing they think of. Education is important, and I encourage everyone to enjoy it while it lasts, but it's not what makes high school memorable. My friends helped make my high school experience great. Having people to talk to and spend my day with gave me something to look forward to. Having a good relationship with your classmates is important to having an enjoyable high school career, and I'm thankful for all of you. The unique thing about going to a small school is most of our teachers fall into the friend category. I've had some of the same teachers years in a row, and I'm thankful for the way they mentored and taught me throughout the years. Thank you for putting up with me and my classmates every day. If you are an underclassman, it is my advice to you to get involved in the school community. Join the basketball team, try out for the musical, join Charger Voices, and attend prom. You will not regret it. Most students do not enjoy sitting in a classroom all day, every day, so make the experience enjoyable. Make it worth it. Joining the basketball team was one of the best decisions I ever made. I made so many relationships and memories through the sport. That is what makes high school so great. Though our opportunities are limited at CTA, we shouldn't ignore the opportunities that we have. Take advantage of them because we don't know when those opportunities will be taken away. This school year, a lot of those opportunities did get taken away, especially for the seniors. While we were in school, many of us complained throughout the school day that we didn't want to be there and we just wanted to be done. We got our wish, but that proves that we take everything for granted. We all started to realize the things we were missing, and all we wanted was to be back in school. No senior prom, the musical was canceled, spring sports canceled, and we wouldn't get to participate in our last talent show or moving up day. These seem like small problems compared to a global pandemic, but they are big things to us. At first I chose to look at this negatively, but I quickly realized everything happens for a reason. I learned more than ever that God is in control. For a lot of us, our plans got thrown off a little. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. Proverbs 19, verse 21. The heart of man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16, verse 9. Sometimes these things happen to remind us who is in control. These verses remind me that even if my plans don't work out, God is the one with the backup plan. In fact, his plan isn't even the backup plan, it's the only plan. We can plan out our whole lives, but ultimately the Lord establishes our path, and it's been established before the earth was even created. I've never been sure about my plans or my future, so this is very comforting for me to know and believe. COVID-19 was not part of our plans for this year, but we came through as a community to get through it. This is the will of the Lord. It can be hard to see the good in this, but I'm sure the good has come out of it and will continue to come out of it whether we see it or not. Thank you to my parents who have shown support to me for always being there for me and showing love to me every day. The greatest gift they gave to me was raising me the way they did and teaching me to live and love like Jesus. I love you both. To my fellow graduates, I'm grateful for the time we had together, and I'm extremely proud of all of you.
Please welcome back Superintendent Dan George, who will introduce our speaker.
It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Dan Quisenberry. Dan is the president of the Michigan Association of Public School Academies, otherwise known as MAPSA, and serves as a leading advocate and spokesperson for charter public schools and 21st century education in Michigan and the nation. Dan is a member of the steering committee for Launch Michigan, a member of the board of directors of New Detroit, member and past chair of the Education Alliance of Michigan, a former member of the board of directors of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, an organization that he helped form. And he has served twice as chair of the State Leaders Council of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. He has served as president for MAPSA since 1998. Dan's counsel and advice are sought by policymakers on every aspect of K-12 education policy, from charter schools, education accountability, 21st century school funding, literacy, and educator evaluations. He is frequently interviewed as an influential voice in Lansing by the media, radio, television, and varied local and state and national news outlets. Now you might wonder how in the world I got him to come to little CTA and give our commencement address. Well, besides all that, I've been proud to call him friend for the last 10 years. He's a friend not only to me, but to CTA. I've appreciated how he has recognized our accomplishments and shared ideas, and I'm pleased to welcome him tonight. Dan.
That guy sounds pretty impressive. I want to meet him. Just kidding. It's not all that. Actually, truth be told, everything you needed to hear, graduates, you heard from your two students, Ashley and Hannah. They did a nice job, didn't they? Give them another round of applause. Graduates of Creative Technology Academies 2020, congratulations. To the staff, Ms. Mattson, Mr. George, the board members, parents, all you teachers, you've been congratulated already, but well done. This is not easy under normal circumstances. This is really not easy under abnormal circumstances. How am I doing? Can you hear me okay? A little taller than a couple of the other speakers. I really am deeply honored to be here. It's a special privilege. Dan and I started talking about this, Mr. George, I should probably call him that, back in December. I mean, who would have thought everything we experienced since then till now? It was May, and then it wasn't, and then it was on, and pandemics, and global economic crises, and racial tensions, and here we are. Weather, beautiful. Who would have thought we were able to pull this off? Here we are. There's something important in that your two honorees, Salutatorian and Valedictorian, mentioned, which is sometimes you just have to be okay with things you can't expect. And that's okay. You've made it here. Congratulations. 50% of you have been members of the National Honor Society. That's pretty impressive. 25% are headed to college. Another 50% are headed to the trades or apprenticeships or others. 25% of you are taking some time to think about it. And as Ashley said, be okay with that. Parents, I'm sorry. It's okay. I still wake up sometimes. I'm 62 years old. What am I going to be when I grow up? I don't know. It's okay to think about what you want to be. In fact, that's the theme of my speech tonight is, who do you really want to be? Who are you going to choose to be? As Mr. George said, I have the privilege of being president of the Michigan Charter School Association. It's a statewide association. There's 300 charter schools in the state of Michigan. I believe that education is the cornerstone of equal opportunity. It is, in my opinion, and I think others believe it, it's a moral imperative to provide an equal access to a high-quality education for all children, and that's the vision of charter schools in Michigan. For 20 years, plus years, I've spent at MAPS. I've watched our schools, like Creative Technology Academies, literally bring that vision and that dream to reality. Equity means a variety of quality education choices, because regardless of where a student lives, regardless of their family income, it can be immigrant students who are learning English while they are making their way through school. It could be a school that honors someone's culture or heritage. It could be a school that's slightly leaning towards kids that just, maybe it's dyslexia, something that's more difficult. They have a hard time in school, period. Charter schools remind us that schools need to work for kids, not the other way around. And it's been my honor to spend my career advancing those ideas and being associated with great educators and people who have that same similar vision. But graduates, I'm here because I want to celebrate this time with you. Even as you've been told already in this disrupted time, everything you've planned has been dramatically changed in some way. It's still a time to celebrate. It really is. Celebrating all the hard work, celebrating with your classmates and their accomplishments. It is a time even to be thankful. Yeah, that's right, thankful. Thankful for the experience of 13 years, some of you literally at Creative Technologies the entire time, others who have come here to finish that 13 years. Thankful for those who helped get you here, who have nurtured you, taught you, cheered you on, provided encouragement. Probably times when it didn't look like you might be everything you were wanting to be, but you made it. So let me talk about the reality of what this country is experiencing right now, what this world is experiencing right now. I just felt it's kind of naive to ignore it. And I don't assume that everyone's experience, even those of us that are sitting here tonight, that their experience has been the same. There are big differences as I get a chance to talk to people in what they've experienced with this health crisis, the risk of having the virus or having it, contracting it, those who have died or experienced loss, the safety issues that we all are experiencing, concerns we have, economic disruption or even calamity in your life, where everything's turned upside down, academic concerns about making sure that all Michiganders have a great educational experience. And now we deal with this thing that all the diverse colleagues in my life have been calling the second pandemic, the painful reality of historic racial injustice. These are disruptions, all types of disruptions, in 90 days that we've had to endure and experience. So, graduates, I want to ask you a question. Who will you choose to be? I always loved in fact, Mr. George made sure I have one of your t-shirts. You're world changers, right? What does that mean? You see, in my idea, I like to look at history. What are my roots? What are the whys? What brought me here? What helps shape my thinking? We as Americans are still united around our founding ideals. Stated in the Declaration of Independence, I think the best, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator and have certain unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It also instructed us that the people, that was a new idea then, should institute a government that will most likely affect their safety and their happiness. So it's appropriate to ask, why then are we so divided? Why do these issues divide us? I'm here to suggest to you that it's because these ideals of life, liberty, safety, and happiness are not being equally experienced by everyone in this country. Not yet. And that, friends, is not okay. We have work to do. And frankly, I'm going to step above politics, which I deal with every day, and say, no party has it right. No agenda has it right. We, the people, need to hold them accountable for those ideals and to make sure they come and they're experienced by everyone. So before anyone jumps to conclusions about some kind of a political speech, I really have a point for these graduates. Who will you choose to be? It is a choice that you have still to make. Let me tell you a story if you want to think about the different kind of experiences that there are that I give a privilege to observe. Again, it really has been a privilege to see CTA grow and become what it is. I've had the privilege of observing what happens to 300 charter public schools around this state, and frankly, some schools in other states. If you were catching it, you might not have known it because they didn't really say it, but on NBC National News recently, there was a story about a school in Detroit, a principal by the name of Miss Dungy. It was a charter school. It is a charter school, 127 kids in an elementary school in some of the hardest parts of the city of Detroit. It was also on the Today Show. You can go back, look it up. You can see this really nicely told story of this principal and what happened to her after March 13th. 127 elementary kids. It was her job first and foremost, in her mind, a decision she made. I'm going to make sure I know what's going on with every single one of my kids because under normal circumstances, their lives are really tough. I won't go into the whole story, it's there on the internet, but in one case, there was one student she just couldn't connect with. She had driven to the house, she'd made phone calls, she'd done emails, she'd reached out to others, nothing. Finally, one day when she made that cell phone call, there was an answer. And it was a teenage young man who said, I'm sorry, Ms. Dungy, that I haven't been responding, but you see, my dad, he's a single parent, got the virus some time ago, and he died recently. So I need to know what I need to do for my little brother because I want to make sure he's getting the education he needs. That's different than my experience in this situation. The ideals that unite us are still important to that young man, to that family, to the people in those circumstances. They're important to you. Your experiences in all of this are very, very, very different. Life, liberty, safety, happiness, justice. These are basic things, but not equally experienced today. So I do think they need to be enjoyed by everyone for the common purpose and benefit of everyone. So we don't have to fight each other if we can fight for those things. And as my title suggests, and I'm going to keep reminding you graduates, so who are you going to be? How will you help to live out those ideals as you become a member of this very diverse and growingly diverse society that we live in? Interestingly, if this matters to you, I thought about giving this pretty much same speech back in December. Truth has a way of being true no matter what the circumstances are. It's all these things we've experienced in 90 days just brings it probably more to life. I wanted to, and still want to point out that those things that really matter, I'm impressed with everything that I've read about you all and that you've shared, but hear this part. Those specifics, your facts, your statistics, your grade point average, your height, your hair color, the color of your skin, your ethnic heritage, the material things you do or don't have, they are not who you are. I like to say the nouns in your life are not as important as the adjectives. I'm proud of the fact that some of you want to be in the healthcare industry or in the trades or a policeman or going to college or figuring out what you want to be, but those are not the things that will define you. You see, graduation is a time to celebrate and reflect. It marks the end of this era we call K-12, and it's the beginning of other parts of your life. It's a commencement of those things. So let's keep talking. I want to give you a few building blocks of how you can help answer that question even more. Who will you choose to be? One thing you might think, particularly those of you in this class, and that you've already seen from your colleagues, yeah, let's just ask Siri. I can Google this. That's a little dangerous. I want to tell you a little funny story recently. I had my own 90-day COVID stay-at-home experience, so I had agreed, rather than go to the school and read to some elementary school kids, the school wanted me to go online and read to their kids online. Well, I was doing that. I prepared my elementary school books to read, and everything was being prepared, and the teacher introduced everything. And finally, the teacher said, well, Mr. Quisenberry, before you start reading, kids, are there any questions? Okay, Gavin, you have a question for Mr. Quisenberry? And all of a sudden, Gavin's picture comes up on my screen. He leans into the screen and goes, well, Mr. Quisenberry? He goes, I Googled you. You're a baseball pitcher and you're dead. Let's check the facts. If you're not aware of it, there is a baseball pitcher by the name of Dan Quisenberry. He used to be a side armor for the Kansas City Royals. He is dead. Gavin was saying in a very polite way, I'm not sure who you are, but you're not who you Googled up to be. Google may not give you the answer to who you really are. It's not going to tell you what your ideas are. It's not going to tell you what you're passionate about. It's not going to tell you what matters to you. It's not going to matter some of your relationships. It should tell you a lot, but not everything. Gavin had the wrong story about Dan Quisenberry, but he was a good researcher at third grade. Who are you going to be? So I've learned in my process of being what I've been for the last 22 years that there are 4 building blocks that are really important. You heard some of that from your Salutatorian and Valedictorian. Knowledge, that's one building block. Hard work, that's a second. Challenges as opportunities. Service to others, and last, fueling all of that with inspiration. So let me talk a little bit quickly about knowledge. In the 21st century, that is everything. While I just said Siri and Google can't tell you everything, they do tell you a lot. Dr. Martin Luther King said to us one time, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively, to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of true education. And he was right then, and he's certainly right today. People who are hiring you in the future are going to be looking for some kind of a global perspective. The ability to think and to learn, not just what you know, but the ability to learn more, the ability to utilize that information, and then having that ability to work with other people to make it useful. Knowledge is king. Knowing it, how to using it, and doing what you need to do. The U.S. Department of Labor estimates that today's graduates, you all will have 10 to 14 jobs in your career. Not because you have to, but because things change. Top 10 jobs in 2015 didn't even exist in 2004. So you'll have an opportunity to do all kinds of things. There are over probably 6 billion searches on Google every day. Information and knowledge is everything, and knowing how to use that and do it effectively is going to be important. So that's your first key to success, knowledge. The second one is hard work. Your parents have probably told you that a lot, and maybe you have or maybe you haven't, but you know, everything in your life has taken hard work. You fell the first time you walked, you almost probably drowned if you were the first time you swam. The first time you swung at a baseball, you probably didn't hit it. There was a man by the name of R.H. Macy. Yep, Macy department store. You failed 7 times before opening up a successful store in New York City. English novelist John Creasy got 750 rejection slips before he published 564 books. He's persistent. 2 college buddies couldn't agree on strategies for building computers, and they didn't even do well in college, but we both know their names, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs at Apple. Hard work is the bottom line there. Decide to work hard, be determined. Knowledge and hard work. The next one to understanding success is that challenges today are opportunities. I do share this, but boy, have you learned that in the last 90 days. There's a woman by the name of Marcia Sintar. She's an inspirational author, and she writes, life's ups and downs provide windows of opportunity to determine your values and goals. Think of using all obstacles as stepping stones to build the life that you want. Frank Clark, a successful businessman and even congressman, says if you find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't go anywhere. So I've shared this before, and like I said, in the last 90 days, you've had plenty of opportunities to see obstacles in your way. You can still choose to see them as obstacles, but they're opportunities. Solve them, address them, help other people solve them. Talented people will know what to do with that, and you will advance. The economy is going to be difficult, so be creative, be an economic engine, solve those problems. That's what everyone who has succeeded has done, has been a problem solver, created opportunities out of obstacles. If you have a strong opinion about what the government is or isn't doing, start a movement. It's easier to do today than it ever was before. Run for office. We need you there. There's term limits. You can get it there. We've all been talking about discrimination and injustice today. You be a peacemaker. You be a reconciler. You build awareness. You know, like what's happening in schools? I didn't. Join a revolution. Every student needs to have access to a quality education. You've had that privilege, not all kids do. Don't like what's happening with families in our country, in our world? Be a great parent. These are frustrating. They can be significant sometimes. I'm telling you, they're just merely rocks in the way, stepping stones for someone like you to advance and make a common cause and do something important. Who are you going to choose to be? The next trait or characteristic to lead to succeed is being a servant. That sounds backwards. Most people don't think that way. Most people won't behave that way. I'm telling you, it's important. I've had the opportunity and the privilege of meeting a lot of people, rich, famous, powerful, the unknown. I'm telling you, every single one of those people that accomplished so much, they were servants. They put the good of other people ahead of their own interests. One of my favorite stories, it's a little bit long one, but I want to share it. Hopefully it means something to you. Is a man I have not had the privilege of meeting, but I would like to someday, is our first president, George Washington. You see, he served this country in many ways. He asked to do none of the things he did, including the role of president. He didn't want to be. He had preferred to have lived his life out on Mount Vernon with his family. Instead, the call for service came. He put the interests of others before his own, and he did what he was asked to do. And his reputation was strong, so strong, that Thomas Jefferson once commented there was one man, and one man alone, George Washington, who was responsible for our country not becoming a monarchy. You see, there's a story. As the British were surrendering in 1781 at Yorktown, I mean, that was remarkable in and of itself, that we'd brought the strongest army in the world to its knees and to surrender. The United States was still not very united, not at all. The colonies were not united. We weren't even deciding what we had wanted to do. Throughout the entire Revolution, Congress had promised to pay the army, but they never really did. They were all promises. So the states, as the British surrendered, the states began to argue. What were they going to do? What's the government going to be like? And the egos of men were vying for power to establish this new country. It had never been done before to allow citizens to actually answer those questions. And there was only one clear power in the country at that time, and it was George Washington and his army. And yet his army was weary and tired and angry. They had not been paid, they had not been respected, they had been away from their families. And now that threat of the British Army was gone, the time to be paid was there. They were now mad at Congress. So they gathered in Yorktown, Congress was gathering in Yorktown, and they decided they weren't going to pay the army, and they became even more furious. And so they had decided to take matters into their own hands, and they were going to march on Congress. Probably not to do good things. They were going to take up their arms and use the power of the military to overthrow Congress, shoot anyone that was necessary, if it was necessary, and make Washington king against his own wishes. It took days for them to march, but that's where they were headed, and Washington wanted none of it. He wrote in Congress, he pleaded with the leaders of the army. Nothing was stopping them. As soldiers gathered one more time, one last time, intending to act without Washington's cooperation, they came to a meeting without notice. Washington walked in and attempted to reason with them. He had prepared his remarks. They weren't working, they weren't listening. Then in one last-ditch effort, Washington remembered a letter in his pocket from one member of the Colonial Congress that he thought, maybe if I just read this, then perhaps they'll lay their arms down and go home. He pulled the letter from his pocket, and then something seemed to go wrong. He paused. The general seemed confused, which wasn't normal. He stared at the paper helplessly. The officers who were gathered became dead silent. They leaned forward to see what was wrong with this man that they adored. Washington then reached into his pocket and pulled out something that only his close staff had ever seen, a pair of reading glasses. Washington said the following, "Gentlemen," and this is true, "gentlemen, will you permit me to put on my spectacles? For I have not only grown gray, but almost blind in the service of my country." There was a hush in the crowd. These hardened soldiers began to weep because they respected George Washington that much, because they had seen him, they had served with him, they had seen what he had sacrificed personally. One by one, they laid down their arms and went home. No other man could have done what George Washington did to create this country. As a leader, as a professional, as a person, as whoever you intend to be, interacting with people throughout your life, choose to serve. Put the interests of others before your own. The last piece, and I'm almost done, is inspiration. And I have one more favorite story to illustrate how important inspiration can be. It's the fuel that can drive the others: knowledge, hard work, and service. It's from a man, another president, that inspired an entire generation. At a graduation speech, you're not going to be inspired like this guy did, but on September 13th, 1962, President John F. Kennedy challenged America to go to the moon before the end of the decade. That seems simple in today's world. It wasn't then. We didn't have the first clue how to do that. We had no technology. We didn't have computers. Here are his words. "For we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance." He could be speaking to us today. "The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. We choose to go to the moon in a decade, not because it's easy, but because it's hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, one we intend to win." I'm telling you, there are moons that we need to go to in the next decade, and we don't have a clue how to get there, but as you, moving into being part of society, choose to be change, choose to be people who will work hard, use knowledge, serve others, be the world changers that your school says that you are. Your adjectives are more important than your nouns. Adjectives like being honest, dedicated, warm, useful, happy. I hope it has inspired you a little bit. Probably not like John F. Kennedy or George Washington. But I hope this is the first of many accomplishments you have in your life, the first of many things you get to celebrate. I really am excited for you. Congratulations. Teaching staff, you've put in a lot, and even more in the last 90 days. Thank you for all your hard work. We owe you gratitude and a lot of congratulations. Board members, supporters of the schools, and families, congratulations. None of this would be possible without you. It was just a dream 22 years ago that became a reality. So Creative Technology graduates of 2020, congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. Quisenberry. Will the class of 2020 please rise? Mrs. Patton, Mr. George, members of the Board of Directors, the following members of the class of 2020 have completed all requirements for graduation as outlined by the State of Michigan and Creative Technologies Academy. I recommend them for the appropriate diploma from Creative Technologies Academy. Lynn-Ann Besmer. Kayla Buchholz. Gabriella Failing. Kiana Hackbert. Samantha Harris. James Hazen. Travis Hirsch. Hannah Hofstra. Luke Hubbard. Chad Kuinga. Nolan Patton. Taylor Ruhan was not able to be with us tonight. Annie Rabideau. Justin Ryder, also not able to be with us tonight. Ashley Shelagowski. Hunter Stevens, not able to be with us tonight. Faith Watson. Aaron Wright. Will the graduates please face the audience? I am pleased to present to you the class of 2020. You can now turn your tassels. Graduates, please be seated.
So some of my staff was taking bets on whether I'd get through this without any tears, but I think Mrs. Patton beat me to it. So this is my 11th and final CTA graduation as your superintendent. And I have some words for you, just a few. First, to you parents and members of the community, thank you for letting me be a part of your children's lives for the last 10.5 years. Thank you for your support as we have consistently tried to do what is best for kids. I can remind you what you already know. These young ladies and young men are special. They are leaders. They are talented. You have been the major influence in their development, and I'd like to think we've played a significant role too. To my colleagues, you and the kids of CTA have been a great incentive to come to work every day. Thank you. You have blessed me personally and professionally with your partnership. I give up. Next, class of 2020. So this is it. Nice senior year, huh? Worldwide pandemic, no spring sports, no prom, no moving up day, delayed graduation. But hey, no standardized test or final exams either, you know. How about that? So now what? How many times have you been asked that in the last few weeks? I've discovered a lot of cliches while sorting through graduation cards at the store. Here's a few of them. Remember the past, live in the present, look forward to the future. Find your own true star and reach for it. Follow your dreams. Be true to yourself. And I love this one. You graduated. Duh. They all seem a bit empty and hollow sounding. Really not worthy of you. You've heard me often voice the words go change the world over the last 10 years. How do we keep that challenge vibrant and not let it become just another cliche on a graduation card? Many times I've shared with our students and my staff that the change we want to see in the world begins with me. And I promise you, Mr. Quisenberry and I didn't exchange notes before we did this, but like he said, truth has a way of being true, no matter what. Self-reflection is not easy, but it's mandatory. If I expect change out of others, I must be willing to be open to changing me. Then together, we can make a plan to change a family, a school, a village, a city, a state, a nation, and yes, even the world. It is my strong belief that everyone is a leader, and I have tried to promote that belief in everyone who has been a part of CTA in the last 10 years, from kindergartners to administrators and board members. How you lead makes a huge impact on a positive or negative culture. I've always tried to discharge my duties at CTA with the priorities of doing what is best for kids and doing what is best for CTA. Collaboration is vital in accomplishing those goals. For one, I know there are many people who are smarter than I am on this stage and in that back row back there. I've always viewed team building as my best leadership skill, and I've been blessed to hire many people who have shared those two goals and have come alongside me to help me do the job. Some of those people are still here, and some have left and continued successful careers in other paths. I always consider it a compliment when another organization stole one of my great teachers or administrators, because this is where they learned and grew and became desired by other organizations. I'm going to borrow from one of my favorite authors, C.S. Lewis. And if you follow me on Facebook, you've already seen this today, but he's good enough to hear it a lot more than once. This is a goodbye challenge to all of you. It's a serious thing to live in a society of possible gods and goddesses. To remember that the dullest, most uninteresting person you can talk to may one day be a creature which, if you saw it now, you would be strongly tempted to worship, or else a horror and a corruption such as you now meet, if at all, only in a light nightmare. All day long we are, in some degree, helping each other to one or the other of these destinations. It is in the light of these overwhelming possibilities, it is with the awe and the circumspection proper to them that we should conduct all of our dealings with one another. All friendships, all loves, all play, all politics. There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. Nations, cultures, arts, civilizations, these are all mortal, and their life is to ours as the life of a great gnat. But it is immortals whom we joke with, work with, marry, snub, and exploit. Immortal horrors or everlasting splendors. I didn't accomplish everything I dreamed of for this academy. I would have loved to see kids playing on a soccer field, a new gymnasium, new classrooms, and a renovated campus in the buildings that are on our campus now. That will be for others to carry on. But I'm proud of what we've done together over the last 10 and a half years. Most of it cannot be measured in wood, concrete, glass, mortar, and steel. I leave with mixed feelings, some sadness, some excitement, and most of all, deep gratitude to all of the parents, students, teachers, administrators, and board members who have been my teammates and supporters these last 10 years. I know CTA is better off today than it was on January 4th, 2010, largely thanks to a team of unheralded educational superstars, you people, and you people. It will be better off 10 years from now because of the team I leave behind. I know that I'm leaving CTA in good hands, and that gives me assurance that our work has not been in vain, that the Academy and its stakeholders will keep getting better. You will make me proud. Go change the world.